Over the years, we've had several different versions of Godzilla, whether he's a villain or a hero, silly or serious, but one of the main factors for Godzilla is their design, and whether or not he's portrayed with the classic Suitmation or modern CGI. Today, we will determine which style is better suited for the character by analyzing their pros and cons. Firstly, we'll start off with the pros of CGI, but before that, make sure to like and subscribe. Ever since 2007, with the movie Always Sunset on 3rd Street, Godzilla's mainline cinematic appearances have been with CGI, and this is due to a multitude of reasons. Firstly, it is more realistic. If the CGI is done well, you can create highly realistic models of Godzilla with much more attention to detail than you could with a suit that is to physically be there. Secondly, CGI offers much more flexibility. In CGI, Godzilla can do whatever you want very quickly and athletically. You can jump, run, fly, turn around fast, basically do anything, and as long as the animators know what they're doing, they can make the most goofy and silly things look convincing. A lot more people can buy into a monster movie that uses CGI rather than the one that uses Suitmation. This is important because it's an important factor to consider the general audiences and what they want to see. Also, CGI can capture a lot of the essence of a suit. With motion capture, you can replicate the motions and mannerisms of a suit with all the previous benefits. Another great benefit is facial expressions. A CGI creature can emote much more than a suit, which has already been created. This makes the character much more likable and more fleshed out. In addition, CGI is way better for the actors. It is much easier for us to play Godzilla using motion capture than being inside a hot rubber suit. Further, it's much less of an immersion breaker. Whilst this is an inherent Suitmation, seeing things like strings or attachments connect to the suit really takes you out of the film when you see them. But you don't run that risk with CGI. Likewise, certain monsters are just better with CGI. A great example would be Rodan, who will basically always look better with CGI because the monster relies on flying and complex aerial maneuvers. Moreover, CGI has no maintenance. A CGI Godzilla doesn't need to be cleaned, maintained, or made sure it fits and is safe for the actor using it, because it's not actually there. This saves time during filming, production, and makes sure nothing bad can happen to the suit, because it's not actually there. While CGI has a lot of benefits, it does come with some drawbacks. One of the biggest is the cost. A movie that relies on CGI a lot, and especially for big bombastic fights, will cost much more than one that relies on Suitmation. If the higher budget ends up costing the movie, that risks a lot less Godzilla films, and who wants that? Also, if the budget is dumped on the CGI, and other aspects of the movie like the screenwriting and directing suffer from it, that's a huge drawback. Next, CGI runs the risk of being outdated. CGI will end up looking old and outdated much more than a suit would. For example, take something like GMK. The suit in that movie looks amazing to this day, and if compared to CGI that released in the same year, excluding Lord of the Rings because they must sacrifice babies to make CGI look that good, with nearly 10 times the budget, it looks and aged much better. Thirdly, bad CGI ends up running the risk of the uncanny valley. If the movie tries too hard to be realistic, but the technology or skill of the artist just isn't up to the task, it will fall into the dreaded uncanny valley, where the movie looks too realistic to be cartoony, but too cartoony to be realistic. CGI also runs the risk of feeling much more fake and artificial. When looking at CGI, and even really good CGI, there's always this part of you that knows, yeah, this isn't real, and it brings down the movie experience. Further, unless it's thought out carefully, the physics for CGI can be a bit wonky. Sometimes CGI will clip through things, or you won't feel the real weight of these behemoths clashing in a fight, because at the end of the day, they're not really there. Conjointly, CGI has no real room for individualization. With Suitmation, an actor can grow accustomed to the role and improvise. They can learn and adapt unique mannerisms that only they would know because of the extensive experience they have playing Godzilla. With CGI, this can't happen because each frame has to be animated by an individual with a set out plan. For these reasons, a CGI interpretation can be used to a great deal of effectiveness, but it does come with some drawbacks. Suitmation was the primary interpretation of Godzilla for 50 years, and that is for a good reason. First of all, Suitmation is just more tangible and real. Nothing can beat the feeling of seeing meticulously designed suits and sets clashing. Seeing Godzilla destroy cities with Suitmation just has much more of a higher sense of gravitas compared to seeing it all done in CGI. Explosion and tumbling buildings just feel much better to watch than animation. Furthermore, Suitmation is much more cost effective. A big reason why Toho used suits early on was to save on cost. Also, big fights are much easier to pull off budget-wise when it is done with suits rather than CGI. Additionally, Suitmation lets the actor leave their own personal stamp on the character. In Suitmation, the performer can add unique quirks and mannerisms to the kaiju that personalize him in a way that CGI just can't. What's more, Suitmation ages way better than CGI. When done well, Suitmation will still look good even decades after it's made. Also, it doesn't run into the uncanny valley problem because the suit is practical and actually there. This also relates to the nostalgia factor. A lot of older Godzilla films that use Suitmation have a unique charm that evokes a sense of nostalgia. Suitmation is also a lot more impressive than CGI. Whilst great CGI is very impressive, compared to stuff like Burning Godzilla, or even, as ridiculous as it was, the Gilla Kick, it just leaves you with much more of an awe, wondering how they pulled that off. Suitmation is great, but just like CGI, it has its drawbacks. One of the most notable ones is for the actor. Even if it's not as life-threatening to play Godzilla in a suit like it was in the original film, it's still a very cumbersome task to walk around this big rubber suit and play the role. Moreover, in Suitmation, Godzilla just has to move a lot slower and his movements are much more limited. Likewise, some movements in monsters just can't be pulled off without looking either unconvincing or ridiculous. Take for example, the Godzilla Kick. If you compare the way it was performed in the 1973 Godzilla vs. Megalon to 2023 Godzilla vs. Megalon, the Suitmation limited the creativity of the scene, and because there was a practical suit, kind of put it into an uncanny valley of movement where it's too silly to be taken serious, but since it looks too real, because it's actually there, doesn't let it be cartoony enough. However, the 2023 Godzilla vs. Megalon pulled it off because of the dynamic camera work and great CGI, which let the artists do what they actually wanted and were not limited to a suit. Flying monsters are just a lot worse in Suitmation than CGI too. As stated before, Rodan is a great example of this, but even Mothra too. Her wings flapping and flying just look way better and more lively compared to a suit because of how much more dynamic it is. Further, Suitmation is much harder to sell for mainstream audiences. Audiences just have a harder time getting invested into a movie with a rubber suit than with a CGI monster. This has to be considered because in order for Godzilla movies to be made, you have to make money. Plus, suits need a lot of maintenance. They have to be cleaned, inspected, and made sure that they're safe to be worn. This can slow down production, and if something happens to the suit, the movie can be put on hold indefinitely. Additionally, suit Godzillas are much less expressive. Their face can't contort and make expressions that they could with CGI. To sum up, Suitmation is a great way to use Godzilla, but it comes with its disadvantages. In conclusion, almost each interpretation of Godzilla is valid. I do feel one is better than the other, and that would be CGI. With CGI, you can use motion capture, and you can keep the unique quirks and performances of Suitmation, while also having all the benefits of CGI. Yes, it won't look as practical and nostalgic, but CGI lets the creative team explore much more ideas and genres than if they were limited to a physical suit. But hey, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Is he better as a suit or CGI? Thanks for watching.